Welcome back to the Following Films podcast, where we look at the craft of storytelling, the magic of cinema, and chat with the people who bring it all to life. I'm your host, Chris Maynard. Today's episode is a short one, but a good one. We're joined by two remarkable guests, acclaimed actor Dermot Mulroney, whose filmography spans everything from My Best Friend's Wedding to Young Guns to Yellowstone, and director Salvador Litvak, whose bold new film, Guns and Moses, is already sparking conversation around the country. Inspired by real events, Guns and Moses follows a desert rabbi who becomes an unlikely warrior when his community is attacked, blending the intensity of an action thriller with the heart of a deeply personal story. It's a film that takes on antisemitism, courage, and what it means to protect what matters most, all with style, grit, and oh yeah, a little Hitchcockian flair. We talk about the making of the film, the urgency of its message, and the humanity behind the characters. So stay tuned. This is one conversation you don't want to miss. Hope you enjoy the show. Hey guys, how you doing today?
Great. How you
Great
doing?
to be with you, Christopher.
Thank you both so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks for supporting independent films.
Well, no, that's my passion, my love is independent films, finding something a little bit off the beaten path for films exactly like this, where it's something that is a socially relevant film that never gets on a soapbox, which is something that's really tough to pull off, to have this kind of subject matter and never feel preachy. It's why you're on this side of the interview and I'm on this side of the interview, because I couldn't do this shit and get away with it, because I would be talking at people instead of having a conversation. I feel like you're opening a conversation here. So first off, just congratulations. You got something special, Sal. And this is really good. So could you talk a little bit about what inspired the story?
My wife and I, we wanted to make a Jewish movie. We have a big Jewish audience for our Jewish wisdom platform, Accidental Talmudist. And we knew we wanted to do a thriller. It's my favorite genre. And we took ourselves back to film school and watched a thriller a day in our living room, set up a projector for 2 years to really immerse ourselves in it. And as we were looking for the subject, there was a terrible shooting at a synagogue in Poway, California in 2019. I attended the funeral the next day. I interviewed the rabbi, watched him become a national figure, calling for something good, something meaningful to come out of that tragedy. And from those elements, Guns and Moses began to emerge. And then the final element for that was in the magnificent set piece in the middle at the Mirror Farm, which is a facility that Dermot's character, the visionary Alan Rosner, creates. I'd heard about that. I'd seen it. I wanted to make a cat and mouse scene there. And our intent was to make it as iconic as the Mount Rushmore scene in North by Northwest by Hitchcock.
Oh, excellent. Okay. I see that. I completely see that. I see what you're getting at there. And similarly, I think that a lot of people wouldn't realize this. There's the reputation of North by Northwest, but if you actually watch that with an audience, there's a lot more humor in that film than people think about. They think about the plane going down and, these intense action moments, but really the movie's really funny and it's hard. And I think that's what makes it work more than anything and I think that you have similar DNA here where the humor is really the key to this story. I think more than anything, it's not a comedy per se, but it's an action thriller for sure. But it definitely has moments of humor here.
It's how we get to know the people and care about them. Yeah.
So, Dermot, could you talk a little bit about the idea of taking something so serious and honoring that in a performance, but also adding heart and humanity to it at the same time?
Well, yes, thank you. I play a key role that require all those things you mentioned. The part plays throughout the film as an important catalyst to the story and so forth. But in other words, you'll, like most good characters, you'll discover their complexities later on as the plot reveals them. So a key character, I got to work in a very challenging and wonderful scenes. And with great actors. So I was happy to be there and thrilled to be involved.
Well, it's one of those things that I feel like you see a role like this, and you're somebody who has done just so much work that this type of film doesn't come along very often. Even for somebody with a career as wide ranging as yours is, this is just a great character and a great piece that you really get to sink your teeth into.
Thank you so much. You see, even that photo, it's a very different character than I've ever played. And he uses, like some characters I have played, his charm. And then, like
Yeah.
some, smaller group of characters, he uses his charms not necessarily for the best intent. So it's always a thrill to be a character that other characters talk about, and exists outside the moments you see him in the films.
Well,
And that
it's
other characters disagree about, right? They disagree about him
Exactly.
so
It
much. And
causes
so he has to
the
deliver all these different colors.
well, it's like the weight of this character just has to cast a shadow over the entire film. And
Yes.
so, it's that thing that even when you're not on screen, you are the center of this film in many ways. But it's that kind of, it's almost the MacGuffin to some degree, where Chinatown is about water, but it's not about water. In the end, you have a similar thing here. This is about energy, but it's not about energy. It's you have that sort of similar framework that you're working with here, and I really appreciate that. So, Sal, can you talk a little bit about this? Is you said this is the thriller throwback that you were going through this time
I'm glad
period.
you mentioned Chinatown. I mean, definitely Polanski is one of the
Okay.
directors that we studied in studying the thriller genre, and Chinatown in particular. I mean, there's a lot in this movie that is an
Yeah.
homage to Chinatown. You have this alleged project of the wonderful high speed rail that's going to
Mhm.
connect San Francisco and LA. And so much corruption going on in California that we'll be lucky if it goes from Bakersfield to Fresno, I believe.
Yeah.
I'd really love to have that train. But there's also the technology, right, of this mirror farm. Everyone's heard of solar power, but this is next level, next generation solar power, and it creates such a setting, for that cat and mouse scene. And so we have, I think, visual representations of the kind of unusual and unexpected relationships among the characters.
Well, the technology element of it, of course, but then really it just looks cool on screen. That's it. It's just something you haven't seen a lot, and it just you showcase it right in the beginning of it, and it just has that you kind of touch on it that it's there, and you see that in this slideshow in the beginning of the film, in this little montage that you have, and it just I think once you're building to that moment and you actually see it in the way that it is almost like that hall of mirrors, the way that it plays out, where you are in that sort of that almost horror movie trope where you're in the house of mirrors, that kind of thing, that it plays out that way. It's just such a great location for it. So to me, it's one of those things where you think like, oh, this was the moment they built the movie around. This was the spark, this was the idea that you can kind of have the
Yeah.
foundation. It's a strong one.
Yeah. No, I wanted to make a scene in a mirror farm like that, a mirror field. I mean, it's
Field,
1,700
yeah.
acres of those massive curved mirrors. Even before I had a story to put it in, so it was a wonderful marriage of the cinema and the story.
Well, I feel like I've barely scratched the surface here. I know we're almost at time right now. So I guess the question to both of you would be, what are you hoping people take away from the film when they see this?
There's a lot to leave with. It satisfies classic genre needs: family betrayals, government corruption, cultural conflict here, and lots of action. So it's got it all. Sal even manages somehow to weave in ecological issues that everyone can agree on. So there's a lot. There's a lot to be to be seen in this film. You've got to see it.
I agree.
Yeah. And you should see it with people that you disagree with, people in your family that you see differently. First of all, even the people we disagree with the most, there's so much we have in common that we do agree on, right? And then when we only focus on the differences, I think what's something you mentioned, both of you mentioned, there's nuance, right? And the world is nuanced. Movies, when they are not nuanced, they hurt themselves. People are complicated, issues are complicated, everything is not what it seems. And the Rabbi Mo, played brilliantly by Mark Feuerstein, he's on a quest for truth. And sometimes the quest for truth makes you uncomfortable, makes you discover things you didn't believe in, didn't know existed. And you have to question, where you've grown your own beliefs. Certainly that happens to Clay Gibbons, played by, I think, was a young kid who's going to be a star, Jackson Dunn.
Oh my God, he's phenomenal here. He's so damn good. He's great. So talk about a nuanced role that could have
Yeah.
easily been overdone. But yes, I agree. Sorry to jump in like that, but yes, he's great.
No, I mean that's it, and I think also something Dermot alluded to earlier. It's a Western. It's
Yeah.
not just a thriller; it's a Western. And something that fascinates me is that we shot it where Westerns have been shot for 100 years in the high desert, just north of Los Angeles. And we're used to the tropes of Western, the saloons, the corral, the horses, the covered wagons. That landscape in 2025 has strip malls, power lines, mirror farms, minivans. And we don't see those things because they're so common to us, they become invisible to us.
Mhm.
But 100 years from now, it will look different again. And people will look back on our age as those were the iconic symbols of our age. And I wanted to make them, a neo-Western, a modern Western, where those tropes are important and are part of the story.
Well, I highly recommend people check out this film. It's one of the rare movies that I feel like I could have watched this with my dad. I could watch this with my wife. I could watch this with my 15-year-old son. This is one of those movies that I think you just got something that's going to hang out for a little while. But one last thing, and I know we're over time at this point, but I just want to say I think the important thing about your film is it asks questions instead of it doesn't make statements. It asks a lot of questions, which is something that you find not enough of today, where we disagree about a lot, but we don't ask each other questions. We just wait for our turn to speak. And I think you're definitely opening a dialogue here. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the time.
Couldn't agree more.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Christopher. That was great.
Thank you.
We used the bridges that we wired and blown. That time's over now. So over now. I can't say I'm sad to see it go. That's over now. So over now. So what you doing in a couple of years? On a Saturday, round Halloween, I'll take your hand and I'll spit up fake blood. Should have known. So now here we go. It looks like the winter's never gonna be cold. It looks like the winter's never gonna be cold. I don't remember the cold time so well. We got so drunk that night, I watched you stomp the life out your phone. I felt special then. It was bad taste or dead alive. And I know you know I meant what I said. It looks like the winter's never gonna be cold. It looks like the winter's never gonna be cold. I don't remember the cold time so well. And most people never get what you've always been, always been, always been. And most people never get